What you are about to hear is a real story. Not a movie. Not a novel. Not a theory. A real man. A real machine. A real disappearance. His name was Mike Marcum. He was not a scientist. He did not work for the government. He had no secret laboratory, no team, no funding. He was just a man living in Missouri, in the United States. A man with a very sharp mind. And one idea that he could not let go. He wanted to build a time machine. And he was completely convinced that he could do it alone. Stay with me. Because the last thing he ever said on the radio still has no explanation. It all started with something called a Jacob's ladder. A Jacob's ladder is a simple electrical device. You take two metal rods and place them in a V shape. When you turn it on, a spark jumps between the rods and travels upward. Like a small flame made of electricity, floating in the air. You have probably seen one in an old science fiction movie. It is the classic mad scientist prop. The glowing electric spark climbing slowly between two metal rods. But Mike did not see it as a prop. He saw it as a starting point. He believed that if he put enough energy into that electric field, and if he adjusted certain things, that field could do something that nobody had seriously attempted before. Open a portal. To test his idea, he placed a compact disc in the middle of the Jacob's ladder. He turned the machine on. And what happened next left him completely stunned. The disc disappeared. Not for a long time. Just for a few seconds. It did not explode. It did not fall. It did not burn. It simply stopped being there. And then it came back, but not in the same place. It reappeared to one side, with its edges melted and deformed, as if it had passed through something that had no explanation. For most people, that would have been a strange electrical accident. An error. A short circuit. For Mike, it was proof. His experiment was working. But there was a problem. His machine needed much more electricity than a normal house could provide. And Mike was not a wealthy man. He had no access to professional equipment. He had no investors, no laboratory, no budget. So he made a decision that would change everything. He stole an industrial generator from a nearby power plant. A massive device. The kind that can power an entire building. He brought it home. He connected it to his machine. And when he turned it on, every house in his neighborhood went dark. A complete blackout. Someone reported the power cut. The authorities traced it back to its source. And when they arrived at Mike's house, they found him standing next to a homemade machine connected to a stolen industrial generator. They arrested him. And when they asked what he was doing, Mike did not lie. He did not say it was for heating. He did not make up a story. He did not try to protect himself. He told them the truth. I am building a time machine. For the police, that was enough to decide he was completely out of his mind. He was charged with theft. He spent some time in prison. And most people assumed that was the end of the story. It was not. When Mike came out of prison, he had not changed his mind. Not even slightly. He called a radio show called Coast to Coast AM, one of the most well-known programs in the United States for people who talked about UFOs, government secrets, strange science, and things that did not fit into the official version of reality. And on that show, in front of thousands of listeners, Mike told everything. The Jacob's ladder. The compact disc. What happened when it disappeared. The generator. The arrest. And what he was planning to do next. Here is the thing that surprised everyone. He did not sound crazy. He was not shouting. He was not using strange words. He was not paranoid or aggressive. He spoke calmly, clearly, like someone who understood exactly what they were doing and why. And the audience felt it. After that interview, people started sending him things. Electronic components. Money. Technical drawings. Support. They treated him like a misunderstood inventor. Someone who was about to change everything. With that help, Mike built a second version of his machine. Larger. More complex. More precise. And this time he did not want to make objects disappear. He wanted to test it on himself. In a second call to the same radio show, Mike described what he had been experiencing during his tests. Strange flashes of light. Sudden changes in temperature. Sounds that came from nowhere. He said the portal was opening. That he could see it. That he was getting closer. And then he said something that nobody who heard it has ever forgotten. If everything goes well, nothing should happen. But if something goes wrong, I don't know where I'm going to end up. That was the last time anyone heard his voice. He never called the show again. He did not answer messages. He did not show up for interviews. He did not contact anyone who had supported him. His house was empty. His machine was taken apart. Not destroyed, just disassembled, as if someone had carefully removed each piece. There were no signs that he had moved. No boxes. No truck. No note. No goodbye. Mike Marcum simply disappeared. For a while, people assumed he had given up. Or run away. Or simply decided to vanish. But then someone made a connection that nobody could ignore. In an old database from the 1930s, someone found a case report. An unidentified man had been found dead on a beach. Next to the body, a strange metal machine. Something that nobody at the time could explain. There were no papers. No documents. No identification. But in the pocket of his coat, there was a small card. With a name written on it. Mike Marcum. There was no logical way it could be him. The dates did not match. The timeline did not make sense. But the connection exploded across forums, radio programs, and online communities for years. Was it the same person? Was it someone from the future? Was it a mistake, a joke, a coincidence? Or had he actually crossed into another time and ended up somewhere he was never supposed to be? Nobody had an answer. But the story did not die. It kept growing. Over the years, 3 main theories emerged about what happened to Mike Marcum. Theory 1: he ran away. When things got too complicated, too public, too dangerous, he simply chose to disappear. He changed his name. He moved to another state. Maybe another country. He watched from a distance as his story became a legend. This theory makes sense on the surface. But it does not explain one important detail. He left everything behind. His belongings. His equipment. His life. With no note. No warning. No reason. People who run away usually take something with them. Mike took nothing. Theory 2. The government removed him. Someone in power found out what he was doing. They watched him. They let him continue, until he got too close to something real. And then they made him disappear. This kind of thing sounds like a conspiracy. But it would not be the first time that a brilliant mind vanished right at the moment they were about to break through something that powerful people did not want broken. Theory 3: the machine worked. The Jacob's ladder connected to that generator was enough to open an unstable portal. Mike stepped through. He traveled, but not to where or when he intended. He ended up somewhere else. Some other time. Maybe the 1930s. Maybe much further back. Maybe not in another year at all. But in a space between moments, with no way to return. And if that is true, he is not dead. He is just somewhere we cannot reach. Here is what is certain. Mike Marcum was a real person. His radio interviews exist. People who knew him have spoken about him. His arrest for stealing the generator is documented. He built something. He tested it. He described what he saw. And then he disappeared. Without explanation, without warning, without a trace. His name still appears on missing persons lists. His case has never been officially closed. And here is what makes this story different from other disappearances. Most people who vanish have a reason. A problem. A debt. A relationship. A fear. Mike had none of those things. He had momentum. He had support. He had people sending him money and equipment. He was closer than ever to what he had been working toward for years. People who are about to win do not walk away. In the darkest corners of the internet, there are people who believe that Mike was not the only one. That there have been others, inventors, scientists, people working alone, who got close to something real and then stopped existing. Not because they gave up, but because they succeeded. At the end of all of this, there are only 2 possibilities that feel true. Either Mike Marcum was a man who got lost in his own obsession, disappeared quietly, and became a mystery by accident. Or he was a man who did exactly what he said he was going to do, and paid a price that none of us can fully understand. What is most unsettling is not the idea that he was crazy. What is most unsettling is the idea that he was right. His last words on the radio were these: "If something goes wrong, I don't know where I'm going to end up. He said that as a warning, not as a performance, not as a joke, as someone who genuinely understood the risk and chose to take it anyway. Mike Marcum has not been seen since. And maybe, wherever or whenever he ended up, he is still there, waiting for someone to find him. Or simply waiting. If this story stayed with you, subscribe.